Freemasonry is the largest fraternal organization in the world, comprising 6 million members and 13,000 lodges across the United States. Many household names like George Washington, Andrew Jackson, Mozart, and Harry Houdini were all Freemasons. But what is Freemasonry? Is it a harmless organization that seeks to better humanity through acts of charity? Or is there something more devious at play, such as occult rituals connected to ancient Gnosticism? Today, on Pax Cognita, we hope to uncover the truth of Freemasonry, as devious or innocent as it may be. Firstly, we must try to understand the history of Freemasonry. The first Grand Lodge was established in 1717 in London, England. Before then, not much was known about Freemasonry. Some speculate a connection between Freemasonry and the Knights Templars, who were a 12th century Roman Catholic private defense organization. Others claim Freemasons are the descendants of the ancient craftsmen who built Solomon's Temple. A theory that I find more probable is that Freemasonry evolved out of medieval stonemasons. These masons of antiquity were artisans of great skill, sculpting breathtaking statues and beautiful cathedrals that stand to this day. Like many other ancient craftsmen, these stonemasons organized themselves into a guild, creating a more prestigious vision of masons. One of the earliest glimpses into the world of masons is in the late 14th century prose known as the Regius poem. This work traces the origins of Freemasonry to the ancient Egyptian nobility, whose children were brought into the complex art of masonry. Eventually, this prestigious craft found its way to England under the kingship of Athelstan. The poem also describes an intricate set of rules and guidelines for masons to follow, some relating to moral duties and others to specific tips for mason craftsmanship. Through this knowledge of rules and the ancient craft, masons developed complicated systems of hand gestures and symbolism to communicate. As the need for stonemasons declined, the guild began to recruit non-masons, especially high-class intellectuals who bolstered the growth of new ideas throughout the organization and the world. From the late 1700s, Freemasonry was a primary conductor for Enlightenment political philosophy, which rejects monarchy and seeks to embrace and secure individual autonomy. Such ideas were curated in Freemasonry circles and are reflected in the founding of the United States, a republican government that praises above all liberty and justice. By the late 18th century, being a Freemason meant you were at the forefront of knowledge. As Freemasonry continued to grow across Europe and the Americas, it became more and more inclusive, now welcoming women to Masonic lodges and blacks to traditionally white lodges. Let us now push forward into understanding the beliefs and rituals of Freemasonry. For this, we will look to the Luciferian Mason, Albert Pike, who was a Confederate Army leader, politician, and the author of Morals and Dogma of the Ancient and Accepted Scottish Rite of Freemasonry. On page 624, Pike states, "Masonry is identical to the ancient mysteries," a seemingly odd statement from a member of an organization that claims to be a fraternity and not a religion. Pike states, "These were the ancient ideas as to this great God, Father of all the gods or the world, of this being, principle of all things, and of which nothing other than itself is principle, the universal cause that was termed God. Soul of the universe, eternal like it, immense like it, supremely active and potent in its varied operations, penetrating all parts of this vast body, impressing a regular and symmetrical movement on the spheres, making the elements instinct with activity and order, mingling with everything, organizing everything, vivifying and preserving everything. This was the universe God which the ancients adored as supreme cause and God of gods." End quote. This oneness God he describes seems to be the God of Freemasonry. Throughout the work, he consistently refers to spirituality and divinity. Freemasons claim that it's not a religion, but this isn't the case. Freemason rituals involve prayer and Bibles. Some of the most well-known Masonic writers describe Freemasonry as the craft. The craft is a term that's almost exclusively used to describe witchcraft. In one of the Freemason rituals, the Masons perform a reenactment of the death and resurrection of Hiram Abiff, who, according to Masonic law, was appointed to be the chief stonemason for Solomon's temple. The Mason who plays Hiram Abiff is threatened and told he must reveal the Master Mason's secrets. When he doesn't oblige, he is quote-unquote killed. Then the Mason lays pretending to be dead on the floor as Masons surround him and perform a ritual to raise him from the dead, chanting such things as "Lord of all, above, below, as dissolves our earthly tie, take us to thy lodge on high." End quote. Such ritual calling upon a deity to raise Hiram Abiff from the dead is repeated throughout the ritual until he is eventually raised. Once someone is initiated into Freemasonry, they're subsequently given a Masonic Bible. These rituals aren't innocent plays, but spiritual endeavors with ancient ties to occult rituals. Deep parallels can be seen between Masonic ceremonies and Eleusinian rituals. The Eleusinians practiced occult rituals for over 1,000 years. The rituals involved reenactments of death and rebirth, hoping that by performing various rituals, one could become worthy of esoteric knowledge. This is the same philosophy of Freemasonry. The first ceremony, where you become a Mason, grants you the role of apprentice Mason, and then, through more ceremonies, you become a fellow Mason and eventually rank up to Master Mason. These are the 3 ranks of Masonry, and in each role, the Mason becomes further exposed to the esoteric secrets of Freemasonry. One can only do so much research into Freemasonry. You'd have to be a member yourself to uncover every secret. One thing we do know is that symbolism plays a major role in the Masonic esoteric worldview, for instance, the square and compass. This symbol is very prevalent in Masonry. It has 2 compasses, a square, and a capital G in the center. The square was important for establishing a strong stone foundation. As such, it symbolizes the strong moral foundation of Masons. The compasses are symbolic of balance and self-restraint. The most striking piece of the symbol, the letter G, seems to be the most obscure in its meaning. Some suggest the G stands for geometry, which would have been important to stonemasons, while others say the G stands for the great architect of the universe, which is what Freemasons refer to as their God. To see what Freemasons call morals in action, look no further than Lodge P2. Throughout the 1980s, the P2 Lodge functioned as a hidden center of power for far-right politicians, military, and businessmen. Ripe with corruption, the lodge was run by the self-professed fascist Licio Gelli, a corrupt businessman and master mason. In 1981, the list of Lodge P2 members was released, exposing the corruption and connection between Italy's elites. Licio fled to Switzerland, but was captured, escaped prison, and sought refuge in South America. He voluntarily surrendered in 1987, and in 1995 he was found guilty of obstructing the investigation of the 1980 bombing of Bologna Railway. 85 people were killed in the explosion, and the perpetrators were far-right fascists with connections to the P2 Lodge. These events are tied to NATO's secret armies. Under Operation Gladio, NATO funded weapons to right-wing terrorist organizations to limit the power of leftist politics. Modern-day Italian Freemason lodges have deep ties to the Italian gang known as 'Ndrangheta. In November 2021, southern Italy drug busts revealed cocaine stashes marked with Masonic symbolism. This is no coincidence. Some of the highest-ranking Ndrangheta members are part of Freemasonic lodges. Illustrating the far-reaching influence of Freemasonry, the United Kingdom hosts an estimated 33,000 Freemasons. The Queen's cousins, the Duke of Kent and Prince of Kent, are Master Masons. On January 27, 1968, the British police force established their Masonic Lodge. In 1938, 2 Masonic lodges were founded in Westminster for members of Parliament and journalists. This leaves us to ponder the revelation that our leaders are part of an organization that performs occult rituals. Are we expected to turn a blind eye, or rather, is such involvement deemed acceptable? What does this all mean? Freemasonry is an organization that advertises itself as a peaceful brotherhood that comes together to better the world. As a club full of mystery, tradition, dress up, and nothing more. However, this is not the case, although for your average Freemason, it may be. Your average Mason isn't an evil sorcerer who wants to conquer the world, but a member of a club that they think will make the world a better place. This hope is mistaken. Freemasonry is a Gnostic organization rooted in occult rituals and secrecy. It's an organization where elites build up elites. Masons have gone from erecting beautiful structures to building up elites so power structures can be controlled smoothly. Note above all that both the Eastern Orthodox Church and Roman Catholic Church bring down sharp condemnation on Freemasonry as an esoteric cult that practices a false spirituality. This isn't a personal attack on any Freemason, but a harsh reality of the demonic influences of Freemasonry.
Pecador, contempla el día final en que han de dar cuenta los hijos de Adán en un verde valle que es de Josafat, envuelto en pavesas el mundo.